All right, looks like our recording is up and running. Welcome everyone to the August 8th meeting of the OpenJS Foundation Standards Working Group. We have many awesome folks joining us this summer Tuesday. We start with any announcements, any news, any upcoming things folks want to share. I feel out of the loop, so I definitely want to hear any announcements you all have. What's going on in your world? I've got the one thing that I announced since I last saw you all. The State of Open Standards report, which I was working on in the spring, has been published. So I will drop a link to that in the chat here in a few, but I hope that the findings are also reflective of the importance that we all share, the value we all have for open standards. So thanks to all of you for your support, and then also helping me field that survey. I really appreciated that. So that's a piece of announcement. I think we also have something we're doing in Bilbao.
We are having a Birds of a Feather in Bilbao with W3C and OWASP and OpenSSF. And our friend Dan Applequist is going to host it. It is that first day, the 19th in the morning. I think we picked 10 to 10:50 a.m. I'll get that up on the calendar if it's not there already. That is the week after TPAC, essentially. I believe they're looking at doing another sort of Birds of a Feather gathering at TPAC in Sevilla the week prior. Chris?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, unfortunately, they scheduled Secure the Web Forward at the exact same dates as the TC39 plenary. So you will not have those folks in attendance, unfortunately. And then I was going to say, I don't know if anybody here was at the security meeting yesterday, security collaboration meeting yesterday. I wasn't able to make it, but I was going to mention there, and I might as well mention here that the TC39 security task group is meeting tomorrow at noon Central Time. So if anybody's interested, please join.
Noon Central, and then where should folks go to get like the info? Yeah, Darcy's asked
TC39 folks will have access to the TG3 repo and GitHub, as well as the calendar where the invite exists. There's also in Matrix, there's the TG3 room in Matrix. But if anybody wants to participate that is not already an eligible meeting participant in TC39, they can contact me or any of the chairs. And I would say Jordan, but Jordan's out. So
great. Thank you. That actually makes me want to ask Chris, will the TG3 be having meetings at a different cadence than the plenary? And if so, should we be putting those on our just like FYI standards calendar so that we can sort of check in with you on?
It is at a different cadence. I mean, there's a lot of, as you know, there's a lot of different TC39 meetings that are not in sync with plenary. So how exactly you want to track and pay attention to those, I don't know. The calendar is, the source of truth for all of the meetings. The TG3 meetings are at a cadence of bi-weekly, alternating time zones though. So this one coming up tomorrow is our kind of North America EMEA friendly time. And then in 2 weeks later, we have our APAC friendly meeting. So it alternates every 2 weeks between those. I don't know that TG3 meeting is any more relevant to this group than all of the other TC39 meetings. It was just top of mind for me because it's happening tomorrow and I missed the security collab meeting yesterday. So I wasn't able to remind folks about it in there.
Cool. Well, so, I would say, because the other TG meetings internationalization. And I
Right,
mean,
so, yeah.
sometimes those groups do have things that I think might be of interest, or, you know, where there's potentially channels of feedback and input that can be fostered. It sounds like, since this is more of a newer TG that's getting spun up, that's something that y'all are really working out right now. And so maybe the answer is like, right now there's really not much, but at a certain point, Chris, I think we'd love to hear from you if and when there are components of the TG's work for that would be salient to the broader OpenJS project community. We definitely want to make sure to help you spread the word.
Sure, yeah, and I see Richard is here, so you're well represented on the internationalization front. It's not necessarily a new TG, it's new-ish, but they hadn't been meeting for a long time due to the previous convener abruptly leaving, and then they just weren't meeting. So until recently, so we've only had a couple of meetings, but we have a lot of stuff on the agenda backlog. But yeah, it is sort of being spun up in terms of being like resurrected. So we're just getting it going again. As for like where it becomes relevant, I don't know, there's so much overlap between spaces here in the security collaboration meeting, as well as you've got some familiar faces in there that are in the OpenSSF activity as well. So I think that's going to be, and I think I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but trying to find where those opportunities for collaboration and working cross-functionally are going to be, because a lot of people are doing a lot of the same or similar things in just different work streams. So the more that we can kind of, I don't know, unify and find ways to progress on these different initiatives efficiently will be something really important.
Any other announcements or shares for the standards working group at the moment? Cool. How about, gosh, it feels like a year since we've had this meeting. Updates from our liaison groups. I know that one of our topics today is actually OSI policy stuff, so I'm not sure if there's any general OSI liaison updating to do, Toby.
No, it's summertime. It's kind of very calm. We did agree in the last call to move ahead was the Open Policy Alliance stuff. And so I've informed the person responsible for it at the OSI. And we will be showcased as part of like the different members of the OSI who are part of this. I don't think they have updated the website yet, I must admit, not having checked. But there is really no news in that space. There was a lot going on around the CRA still, but like very much lots of things are still up in the air at this point.
So, I mean, I think this is maybe a good question to you, Toby. Like, do you anticipate in a few weeks, once this is kind of a little bit more locked in and understood, maybe providing more of a readout or kind of highlights of, for example, the policy discussions around the CRA or other pieces back to this group, or do you anticipate providing that in a different forum?
That is a great question. I don't have a great answer. Because I don't know. Those conversations are like they're happening in bursts, essentially, as policy is shared or discussed around among people who are actively working on it. Robin, you were going to say something. I'm sort of curious, like what your thoughts are.
I've been connected with Mirko from Linux Foundation Europe, and I'm really happy. I have links to his folder that all of the content's been updated into more digestible, talking points and summaries. So for example, Mateo has volunteered to take a briefing and then go contact any stakeholders he needs to or policymakers. So we can have Mirko participate in the standards working group if it would be helpful and just give a quick update.
I think that would be great.
Yeah, because it's one of his sort of primary things he's working on right now.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's a lot to follow and sort of keeping up to date was
Exactly.
things is very hard. Like whatever was relevant a week and a half ago, like sometimes is and sometimes no longer is. And it's like, you know, so yeah, if there's someone that's actually doing the work and that's willing to come and share this here, I think that would be useful. I think the liaison is, well, I think the two things that are valuable was the Open Policy Alliance. One is just like showing that there's a diverse group of organizations that care about this stuff. I think that matters a lot, actually. And I think the second value is also seeing if there are specific things that OpenJSF can do. Or like its projects can do. And that at this point, I don't think, I mean, we know that they probably might and will be, but it's unclear what these things are right now, or like if now is the right time for the CRA stuff.
Okay, I'm taking an action item note to invite Mirko to come to one of our upcoming standards WG meetings and maybe do a briefing. And I think, Toby, your last point is super on the nose. And what can OpenJS projects or the foundation or this group, what can we do to assist in this bigger picture of storytelling and understanding and awareness building about the CRA in this case, but in the future, who knows what fresh hell will be brought upon us. So what is
We
that?
signed, yeah, we signed an earlier letter that OSI put together, but I probably haven't been catching up the other opportunities unless they've been sort of sporadic. Find an individual who wants to talk to someone. So I miss those I may be missing waves.
Well, there's like I mean, there's a number of different things going on that explains why it's unclear what to do right now. I think overall the industry and like the different folks have different opinions as to what to do. So it's frankly, like the signals are like very mixed and very confusing. And yeah, it feels like it's evolving on a day-to-day basis. Like it's frankly, like I can't follow it to know what's going on. Like there's yeah, I mean, if you know, there's essentially too much going on, and it feels like very hard. There is no concerted agreement as to what to do right now. I think is kind of like the situation. And yeah, also waiting for OFE to get back sort of like into the, you know, in September, things are going to move a little bit more. I think so. Yeah.
And that's probably also maybe something Mirko might be able to speak kind of obliquely to, like, and here's what the
Hopefully.
OFE is, gonna be.
I mean, it's summertime in Europe, so I mean, it's holidays here. We actually care about this stuff. So yeah, so I think there's also kind of like a pause. And yeah, I think we'll know more in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. So I asked that question in the context of, you know, liaison updates, but that was really kind of spoke a little bit more to the issue 243 on our agenda. So I took those notes under the issue. Let me pop back up to the liaison updates. And since we have ECMA TC39 participants on the call, and Chris was giving us a bit of an update around TG3, anything, I feel like since I last saw y'all, there was a TC39 plenary. But that feels also, like I said, a year ago. So any news or updates from the TC39 or its task groups?
I didn't come prepared with content to answer that question. I don't know what would be beyond, looking at what proposals may be advanced. I don't know if that's, what you're interested in.
Yeah, so generally it would be, if there was anything, and sometimes the answer is like, there's really not anything of substance this week, or, but if there were proposals that might be particularly salient to any of our OpenJS projects, and so there's an opportunity to go make sure those folks have seen the proposal and have had an opportunity to take advantage of it or weigh in on it or whatever the case may be. If there's any kind of general opportunities for the broader community to provide feedback or advancements of specific proposals that we could be tracking or celebrating because some of our projects were involved in shaping those are the kinds of things that I love to, help us toot our horns about, but it could be anything.
Sure. No, I can answer, but Toby has stand up.
Yeah, no, sorry. This is sort of like a meta point about this, because like I was kind of like, okay, what do you want me to say exactly? Like Dory was asking, like, what's the structure in which you're gonna, be sharing those reports? And maybe we should have some form of small structure for the liaison stuff. To answer exactly those questions, right? It makes it way easier, what projects are impacted, what can the foundation meaningfully do? I think it would make our lives easier and sort of like. Also, we could send them in written. Like this, maybe we can, more discuss what to do with them rather than just like have the reports orally. Also, I don't know.
So one thing that I had been thinking for a few weeks now is we've been doing the kind of liaison readouts more frequently, is like just updating the notes template with that kind of format of like, what's the word, bird, who's the, nicer than that, but like, what's the news, what projects are, I just said that so that you would tease me for giving you an Americanism. What projects are impacted, that kind of thing. But we could, we can update the notes template. We could do a issue template too, if folks want to just give a kind of update. I think that seems good to me. I'd like that too, just to kind of frame what we're looking for. Yeah, Chris, sorry.
Yeah, no, that all sounds really helpful. Part of this was like, I didn't expect to give an update on last plenary, so I'm like trying to remember what happened at the last plenary. So I have copy pasted in the chat the proposals that advanced to the particular stage in there. Off the top of my head, I don't know if any of those warrant particular scrutiny from this group or not. But those are the proposals that advance. The other two things that happened, one larger than the other, is the formation of a new task group. So TG4 was chartered at the last meeting, which is source maps. So the source map people had agreed to bring the specification into a standards track within ECMA under TC39. So we have a new task group, TG4, for source maps. So another thing that if folks are interested in joining that effort, please join us. And then TG3, I already spoke about TG3, but TG3, we did elect the chairs for that group, which are myself and Jordan Harband. So yeah, that's what happened at the last plenary meeting.
So I got TG3 confused with the new TG4. That's why I was like, oh,
that's why you thought it was new.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because
Yeah,
I was just talking with Samina about it.
Okay.
And that's when I got, so apologies to TG3 for that. And thank you for this beautifully emojied listing of the
that full disclosure, that is copy pasta from Rob Palmer's Twitter. He always puts these updates at the end of each plenary. So yeah, that's thanks to him. It's one of the chairs.
It's great. Toby,
Yeah, super cool to hear the source map working group, or whatever the structure is called. However that happened or got structured or got spun off could be interesting for the folks working on the package.json stuff. Because it's kind of like a similar-ish, adjacent-ish to the main language kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the package JSON. There's a couple of things happening there, right? One is around general package JSON thing, and then there's like another, I think, more tangential effort with package JSON focused around security and SBOM. So that's actually something I'd like to get some more insight into, what's going on with those efforts on package JSON, because I really only know superficially, have heard about it, and I would like to know more about what's going on there.
Ethan Arrowwood is sort of driving that. He's on a 3-week vacation, and when he's back, we're going to schedule regular meetings, and we'll put them on the public calendar. So, but there is a repo opened where the team and group worked on a kind of a statement, and there's also a Slack channel with the related name, Package Metadata Interop Collab Space.
package data interop collab space. Okay, I was just seeing if that spelled something cool as an acronym, but no. Rick is also, Rick, I don't know if, because I think you were also part of some of those conversations. Did you know if there was any?
No, at the moment there's a hiatus on that just because Ethan's been away. But I know, like, outside of that, I know Darcy and I have been talking, and inside of the package maintenance working group in Node for a few things somewhat interrelated with package JSON in relates to the create PKG stuff. So we're working through that still.
And is he back 2 weeks from now?
He's gone 3 weeks total. I can't remember when he left. So it may be in one more.
Okay, so we're on summer hiatus with that. Cool. Let me finish taking that leak. Super duper. So then the next, and I think you said this earlier, Chris, the next plenary for TC39 is helpfully coinciding with the open source EU. So September 19th through 21. Cool. All right. So Donovan is our TC53 person. I haven't seen Donovan in a minute, so I'll check in with him and see if he can, give us an update on any TC53 happenings, which are relevant to some of our projects like Node-RED and others. So we will pass on that. And then W3C is the last, well, not last, is another of our liaison groups. I don't have a ton of updates on the W3C front right now for our community. They are getting ready for TPAC. There's a lot of really great presentations that are coming together for their developer day, which is going to be the Wednesday during TPAC week. They typically will get that agenda put together in about a month before. Sometimes they're able to support remote participation. I'm not sure if that is on the roadmap this year, but I can drop a link to TPAC schedule in chat here just momentarily. They are still taking proposals for sessions. So if you happen to be in the area and you want to do a session at TPAC, the Wednesday is generally speaking open to the community, and usually a great deal of material there. The other thing that W3C is doing right now is evaluating candidates for new CEO. I hope that they have an announcement for the community by end of the summer, but I've not received any more updates on that.
I'm assuming that will be announced at TPAC, no, or prior to TPAC. I mean,
I
that
don't
would make
know. That'd
sense.
be a great time. That'd be well timed if they could do that. So we'll see. So I really don't have anything outside of those bits for from the W3C right now. And then the last group, Emily is our rep for the Unicode Consortium. And so we'll follow up with Emily, and I think this is also not necessarily the easiest time for Emily, who's in Finland. If we have a liaison issue template or something like that, he can just drop those in asynchronously. So, and Donovan as well. So we'll do that. So I think that's it for the liaison reports, unless I'm missing anyone. Am I missing anyone? I think I am. Cool. Awesome. So that moves us into the agenda items. The first item on the agenda was 243, be a founding member of Open Policy Alliance. As we highlighted at the beginning of the call, that was agreed. That's pushing forward. I don't think there's anything else to say on Open Policy Alliance right now, unless we.
No, we can just merge this, I guess.
Yeah. So let's merge it in.
I love Chris's question about IETF.
That's a good question. I mean, we have committee. So Chris's question is, any liaising with IETF folks? We certainly have members of our community. James Snell actually is the one that comes to mind first and foremost, who are active in the IETF and from time to time bring us things that are like touching us in some way. We don't have a formal liaison relationship with them. I mean, being anybody can join as an individual and participate in IETF. It's a little stranger to do a liaison, but
It's much looser.
Yeah,
That's why I was
right.
smiling. It's kind of like, how would you grab this?
Yeah.
Well, yes, but I'm more thinking of the IESG and, folks that the groups that drafts go to for approval and publication, that are sort of the IETF drafts are gated on. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Everybody is a participant in IETF, just participate. But more looking for, I don't know, clairvoyance into some of those folks in the so there's the IESG, and then there's one other group of folks that are
The ISOC or the research one. Maybe because there's ISOC.
IANA.
IANA would know.
IESG. I can never remember and keep these all organized in my head, but
Yeah. So I mean, I think so I'd have to go like refresh my memory of the role of the IESG, for example. One thing that we have tended to not step in to do as the OpenJS Foundation is take a role in like ratifying or approving specifications. We have lots of projects and participants who, in their capacity as open source maintainers and in their capacity as IBM developers, whose organizations are members of these orgs are in a position to go do that. Where I think we play is much more like the public feedback facilitation and that kind of stuff, but that's my take on it. And sorry, Toby, you had your hand up.
No, that's fine. Please finish your thought. I didn't mean to sort of like, stress
so-
you out of like finishing.
No,
that
so I
thought.
mean, I guess the finishing of my thought is like, I'm not sure that we want to go sign up to be like voting on, but yeah, I saw Robin shake her head. I mean, that's my 2 cents, is that that's not where we want to be. And that the IETF is probably more of the appropriate place for us to channel our respective energies, because our individual people can get in and, share their thoughts or their experience, whatever, constructively, without needing to have OpenJS's endorsement, which is, I think, the thing that we try and thoughtfully use. I don't know. That's my 2 cents. Again, sorry, Robin, go ahead. And Toby.
My question was, what sort of like specific areas were you interested in, Chris? Because I think there are topics that are happening at, in areas of the IETF that are relevant to some of our projects. I don't know, like whatever HTTP version folks are talking about now, for example, probably relevant to like all of Node's, IO. So it could be interesting to have, some more structured communications around like these lower level groups, or not. I don't know, but I feel like that feels different. Like feels completely different, kind of like TC39 versus ECMA. There's probably like similar things in IETF versus like specific actual working groups or like similar kind of like groups. And so maybe that's worth looking into. So my question to Chris was like, are there specific areas that you're thinking about?
I guess I have 2 answers to it. One would just be, it would just be nice to kind of know what's going on, what's on their plate, because it's always pretty opaque when I try and find out information about what's on their plate and what's going on. So it would just be nice to have, just like I did earlier, here are the things from the TC39 plenary, but somebody was in here from the IESG, could keep us abreast of what's going on. The second answer is, we were sort of, some of us collectively frustrated with the pace of how quickly they were getting through with the timestamp. Here, I'll post the draft. This is in the sedate working group. But this was blocking, I don't know, Richard, is this still blocking temporal, do you know? Or did we finally?
I mean,
Get over
it's
the line.
blocking stage 4. It's not blocking implementations at this point, but it's because of predicted stability.
Yeah, so this is one where they were like way past their, they're supposed to get through their review process in some amount of time, and that wasn't happening, which is fine. I mean, I'm not trying to beat anybody up about it, but it was just frustrating because we're getting like so little information and don't know what's going on, and yeah, so that kind of sparked my interest in what are these folks doing. But like I said earlier, I think it would be nice to know what's going on just in general.
Why, I mean, I strong 1,000 plus 1,000 to like just better information sharing and communication and facilitation of like, what you doing? Anything cool? Like, should we be talking? Can you tell us more? So I just think that's a great idea to try and figure out if there's a way we can feed some news, especially news that we think is relevant and bearing on other efforts that we're invested in, like temporal. Like we should be bringing that to the attention of the community. and using our voice to hopefully like go get this shit done, dude. If we can. Other thoughts or ideas on it is my dream for temporal to reach stage 4. Any other news or thoughts or discussion on liaisons?
I mean, could we just start by listing the groups that we would want to have to hear more about? At least it gives us a start. Like, I literally don't even know what kind of structure you're talking about, Chris. And I don't know who else knows or doesn't. I think just that would be useful. That would be a start. I mean, like, I'm going to give you an example. Like the next time I talk to like Mark Nottingham, I'm going to ask him, hey, at IETF, like, what's that structure, and like where does it report to, or like how does it work? What's that thing? And so if I don't even know what it is, like, I'm never going to be able to even do that. And so I think, and then that's just a tiny example, right? Like, I think like sort of like unbundling, like, or like starting to pull on at least one string has a bigger chance of getting us somewhere than not doing that.
Yeah, I think part of the difficulty is where is the information, and then there's like a whole problem of how is it organized, because I don't know if you've ever tried to navigate the IETF website and try and figure out what's going on.
No, I mean,
but it's
I
quite
know.
like it's they need like
I agree. I mean, I
information
literally,
architecture going on.
I run like a database of like standard references. So I have done like, I know how difficult it is to just figure stuff out. So I know where to find the list of like, whatever they're called, like RFCs that are coming out, and like there's a bunch of, so like when you dig, sometimes you start finding stuff, and I know it's hard, right? I am not saying that is easy, but at least like starting from somewhere and just like, I mean, like, you're gonna make me volunteer, and I really don't have the time to do this.
No, I don't. I think maybe like I mean they have one very, Chris and Richard have like this one very tactical example of like the date tracker stuff bearing on our work, and so I think if we have just like a couple of those kinds of things, maybe that's something that we can start to pay more attention to as a group, and find ways, if possible, to like,
I mean, it seems like the working groups and like streams, and like just following from that thing that you linked, there was a bunch of working group stuff. Like, I literally have no fucking clue how it works. Like, I'm sorry for my language, but it feels like, to follow on Jory's point, we don't need to understand how the whole ITF works. We need to identify the things that matter, and then like be able to go up from there to figure out like where those specific conversations are happening. Exactly. Like, I mean, we don't need to know like how ECMA does like the optical design standard or whatever that thing is, or like the hard drive standard, or like they do a whole bunch of like, it doesn't matter to us. We don't need to know about this. There's like 40 other TCs at ECMA, or like something like this, right? So same thing here, but I think first step would be to list like what are the IETF topics, or like RFCs that matter to folks in OpenJSF, and then start finding groups from there. Does that make sense?
yeah, I think that's what people are saying. it feels like that's what Chris is suggesting. I mean, they have a specific example, and we won't know if there's anything else until somebody comes forward and says, and also this working group under the IETF is also
Oh,
like,
sure.
yeah, bears on. And that's what I'm saying, like James sometimes will pop in and say, well, here's something that we've been talking about in the HTS group, and okay, cool. But there's not always something for us to sort of raise awareness for. It just feels like more, you know, ad hoc as our community members stumble across blockers or challenges or issues. So I think maybe we do want to start, just despite not having a specific liaison relationship in place, maybe we do want to start tracking, is there anything going on in the IETF world right now that where our projects should be aware of. And so, you know, like this little factoid about that work somewhat blocking, or not somewhat, definitely blocking temporal from stage 4. Like, that's good to know, because I think a lot of people in the community are sitting there going, why isn't this done yet? And we can, well, here's why. A reason why. So all right, I'm going to move us on because we have just a few more minutes left. I have to go pick up my kid from camp. And we have three other issues. Issues 173, 230, excuse me, yeah, 240, 239 are pull requests, and then those are connected to 173. Many of you have given approval in +1 to some of these PRs. It has been a hot minute since I have read through the threads. The objective here was just to make some incremental improvements. I see some commits for like typos, so I better accept those. But assuming these are accepted, Toby, I think yours on 240, you have changes requested. I don't know if the discussion that we had in thread was satisfactory, or if you still have changes requested. And then I think,
I don't remember that we had a discussion, so I have to
okay,
look this up.
all right. And
I
so
will
then,
do.
okay, cool. And then 239 was the member representation, and that looks like we've got plenty of +1s on that one. So I think I'm going to merge. I guess I had a duplicate. So yeah, okay, yeah, I guess I did. So I'm gonna do that, and I will merge 239, unless there's other. All right. Okay, 239's merging in. I will give Toby a minute to confirm that he is good, and then if so, Toby, just mark it as approved, and we'll merge. All right, so that's those two, and those are kind of I mean, this kind of update to the documentation has been a big, I think, help for our community, especially those of us who are wearing different hats across different organizations, for our companies, for our projects. Just a request, a reminder, if there's anything that you think we could address from a documentation standpoint that will make your ability to participate as a project member in any of these standard spaces easier, please let us know, file an issue, raise it for discussion, because that is a big function of what we as a group are here to do, is make this easier for everybody. Here's the reminder. Hello, Jory. Oh my gosh. Tomorrow, my friend Rex Jasky, who was for a brief hot minute a chair for TC39, is doing a webinar for us called Writing a Formal IT Specification. And I've shared this on my LinkedIn. I will also put it out in our Slack, but for any of our friends, I should have said this in the announcement section, sorry about that. Our friends who are interested in how to write a formal IT specification. This is non-ISO specific. This is really that sort of like, so you want to be a spec editor, here's the tips and tricks that you need to know to get started. So going to be, I think, a fun time. And Rex is just a real wealth of knowledge. So strongly recommend watching that later or attending tomorrow if you can. So okay, so let me double check that I got through. So that's the 2 PRs for issue that also address issue number 173. I think that's it. Is there any other business for today? Any other news? Nope. Okay, dope. I am going to call it then. I will stop our recording.